Hey yogis, welcome back. Thank you for meeting me on your mat again. If you watched my previous videos, you know who I am. If you're new, hello, my name is Felicia and I'm a yin yoga instructor. In these next couple weeks, I'm going to be breaking down the 3 principles of yin. So last week, we focused on the breath work, which is technically principle 2 of yin, the be still, but I think it merited its own clip. It's super important in general, and it's super important in our practice, and especially now to really help get out of that fight or flight stage. So we're moving on, still continuing with that breath work as a goal, but we're going to add on to our first principle of yin, which is find your edge. So this is fun. In our yin practice, when it comes to finding your edge, we're talking about a pose. And we're talking about coming into the stretch just where you feel the stretch. And then we focus on the other principles of remaining still and holding the pose. So your edge is like your Goldilocks spot. In yin, we hold the poses for a little bit longer. So I wanted to demo this as it relates to yin and our asanas, finding your edge. So you can practice along with me if you would like. You can have a seat anywhere that's comfortable, and we're going to find a half butterfly pose. So take your right leg out in front of you, a bit off to the right. Left foot comes into that right thigh, and you can readjust the sit bones as needed. But just finding this in our own bodies and starting to practice that principle of finding your edge. So in this half butterfly, we're going to find our fold over the right leg. So using the breath, on your inhale, taking a deep breath in, again, feeling that belly rise first. Exhale it out. Let's take 2 more of those just to practice the breath. Inhale, belly rises. Exhale out the mouth. 1 more of those deep inhales. Deep outhale. Then place your hands on either side of the leg, using that breath as your guide. On your inhale, belly rises. On your exhale, begin to walk the fingertips towards the ankle, hinging over that right leg, starting to hinge at the hips first. Now, finding our edge means that we're finding the stretch, and in this case, it's the back of our right leg. We're finding that stretch just to the point where we're feeling it, right? So the edge is that Goldilocks spot, that medium part. So we're finding it just where we're feeling the stretch, and then we're resolving to stay. So you can go ahead and come back up. Practice finding your edge when it comes to this pose. So right now we're in our yin practice. This is what we would do in a class. We would find our edge by finding that spot where we're just starting to feel the stretch. A lot of times in our vinyasa classes, we're going really quickly, we're going really fast. We don't have time to stop and feel. Our yin practice is all about stopping and feeling. So in our vinyasa classes, because we're working the muscles and we're flowing through pretty quickly, our fold may look like our deepest expression because we're not holding it. So if I'm coming into a forward fold, I'm going to come into it quickly. I'm going to come into the deepest spot, and then we're going to come right out of it and we're going to flow on to the next pose. In yin, in our asanas, we're getting past the muscle. And it takes a little bit longer to get past the muscle into your connective tissues, your bones, your joints, your ligaments, your fascia. That's why we hold the poses for a little longer. If in a yin practice, I come into this hold at my deepest degree, let's say I'm pulling my foot, I'm really trying to get my forehead down to my knee, more than likely I'm going to injure myself. I'm going to come way past the point that's my edge. And I'm going past that point, and then I'm holding it for a long period of time. On the other side, I could just stay here where I'm feeling nothing in the back of my leg, and I'm not going to get any growth from that either. So I'm not going to find any growth in my practice if I'm not feeling the pose. But if I go too deep into the pose, I present myself for injury. So that edge, you can kind of think of it as if you're hiking up a hill and you look down. That's your edge, your peak. That's it. So peak means different in, vinyasa. It's a little different. We're flowing through, we're working the muscles. We can do that. In yin, we're getting past the muscles and we're really holding to get into all those other connective tissues in the skeletal system. So that's why they call it yin. It's very much the yin to our yang practice. So practice around. You can switch feet, even it out. You can stretch your left leg out in front of you, bring your right foot in. Practice the breath. We always move with the breath. So on your inhale, feeling that belly rise. And on your exhale, hinging at the hips just until you find that stretch, and then stay there. You can allow the spine to round, the hands to rest. Hands and arms are resting. We're not pulling on anything, right? We're not going past our edge. We're just settling in to the sensations. Now, when you're new at this, finding your edge is practice, right? There are some times where our ego is going to kick in and we're going to see the person next to us who's got their head to their knee and we're going to go, okay, that's what it's supposed to look like. I'm going to do that. We try it out. The next day we're super sore and we realize we went past our edge. And that's okay. That's practice. That's how we find our edge. That's how we tune in and start to figure out what feels right in our body and what doesn't. So I encourage you this week to find your edge. That's the yin practice of it, the actual sana practice of finding your edge. It's easier to find our edge in our body because we can physically feel the sensations in the body. Now, I also want to encourage you during this time to notice where your edge is at emotionally with everything going on. So our whole world's got flipped upside down. We are really in the uncomfortable of it. So in yin, we come into these poses to find that uncomfortable, not pain, there's a difference, to find the uncomfortable, to find the sensation, and to learn to stay in it, which will be our next steps we'll work through. But right now, on top of focusing on your breath, I want you to also focus on your edge. So you can figure out your edge. That means like your emotions, things that are coming up. For example, I'm dealing a lot with the electronic stuff. It's not easy. It's not in my wheelhouse. So there are times where I find myself at the laptop or my phone for long periods of time and I really start to get stressed. When it's taking forever for everything to upload, nothing's going right, I can physically feel my chest start to get heavy, the anxiety start to kick in. And so I note to myself I'm past my edge, right? I've gone past where I can settle into the uncomfortable. It's scary to come into these unknown things, but we will grow from it. We just have to learn where that edge is at for us, and we have to learn when to back off or maybe when to push ourselves a little bit more. So whether that means you start journaling or writing things down, maybe just taking note of things when they happen, but I really encourage you this week for your goal to find your edge. And if finding your edge physically is a way for you to start to find your edge off of your mat, by all means, start to play with your edge in some of the yin courses I've posted and some of the other vinyasas, the deep stretch, the slow flows. Start to really tune in and find your edge physically, and that way you can start to tune in off of your mat and find your edge all the time, but we really have the time to focus in now on our edge. So that's your goal for this week. I hope you enjoy. We'll add on next week, but for now, focus on your breath and focus on finding your edge on and off your mat. Thanks, guys.